Welcome to Qualtrax. In this video, we're going to learn how to create a test. In order to create a test, first we must navigate to the Administration tab, then choose Testing. From here you'll see a list of all of your available tests. To create a new one, choose the Create option on the upper left-hand corner. From here you'll want to give your test a name, then choose Create. This will bring you into the test definition page where you can create your test. On the test definition, you'll be presented with a series of tabs. Starting with the General tab, which outlines the basic parameters that govern your test. Then you have the Questions tab. This is where you can design the specific questions that you will ask on your test instance. Next is the Test Takers tab. This is where you will decide who is going to be responsible for completing your test. And lastly, we have the Cancel Test tab. This is where you can cancel any active test instances in users' inboxes. We're going to start with the General tab. Starting at the top of our General tab, you can always adjust the title of your test if necessary. Next, you'll see an option that says Enabled. This is a checkbox that must be selected before you are able to send your test out. However, keep in mind, you will not be able to save this selection until you have created some questions for your test. Next, we have the password verification requirement. We will see this several times throughout your Qualtrax system. This is if you adhere to that FDA CFR Part 11 requirement that requires users to log in a second time to verify their credentials. Next, we have the Document ID section. This allows you to attach a document from your document tree to be utilized in your test. Next, we will see the total number of questions that we have created so far for this example. Right now, we have not created any questions, so it says 0. Below that, we have the number of questions we are going to ask on our specific test instance. Right now, this is also set to 0. Keep in mind the total number of questions could be different than the number of questions that you plan on asking on your test. Next, we're going to indicate what the passing percentage is required for taking this test. By default, it's set to 100. You are free to change this to any acceptable percentage. Next, we have the option to randomize the questions on our test instance, as well as stipulate whether we are going to allow retries on our test if users should fail. If you do allow retries, you can also stipulate an amount of time that users must wait before they're able to retake their test. This could be in increments of hours or possibly days. Next, you have the option to show users the results of their test after they complete it. They will see the results whether they pass or fail. The next two options are ways you can automate your test. The first option that says Send Test Automatically, this is going to be based on any document that you might have attached to your test. You are free to send this test automatically with the very next published revision of your attached document, or you can send it with every future published revision of your attached document. If you do not have an attached document, you might elect to use the Expires option, which will allow you to automate your test based on a certain amount of days, weeks, months, or years, or possibly on a specific calendar date during the year. The last option on your General tab is going to be the Test Introduction. This is where you can type out whatever verbiage you want the users to see when they first launch their test. Once you have configured your General tab, go ahead and choose Save Changes. Next, we will proceed to the Questions tab. This is where you will design all of the questions that you will be asking on your test instance. You're going to start with your first question in the Add a Question text box. Once you have typed out your first question, go ahead and choose the Add option. Here you will be presented with a series of options for this particular question. You will see the text from the question at the top of your screen. Next, there is an option on whether you would like to have this question enabled, yes or no. We're going to choose yes because we want to see this question on the test. Keep in mind, you can always temporarily disable a question by choosing no. Then we're going to indicate whether we want to always ask this question on every future test instance with a yes or no option. Keep in mind, if you do choose no, that this question may not be on every single test instance, especially if you have chosen to randomize the order of your questions. Once you have configured those two options, we then need to build out the possible answers for our question. This is a simple yes or no question. So I'm going to first type in the yes answer. Then I'll type in our no option. Be sure to always select Add New Answer. Once you have built out all of the possible answers to your question, you will then need to tell the computer which answer is correct. In this example, we're going to choose yes. Once you have configured your question, go ahead and choose Save Changes, and then be sure to go to the top of your screen and choose Close. This will bring you back to the Questions tab, where you will see all of the questions that you have built out up until this point. You're always free to edit any existing questions or possibly add new ones. Next, we're going to move on to the Test Takers tab. This is where we will decide who is responsible for completing our new test. You are free to choose any of your users and groups in any combination that makes sense for your test. Once you've selected the users and groups that need to complete this test, you'll choose the Add option. You will then see those users and groups listed at the bottom of your screen. And before you will select the Send Test to checkbox and send out your test, we first must make sure our test is enabled. If you remember, that is on the General tab. We'll go to the General tab and choose the Enabled checkbox and save our changes, and then navigate back to the Test Takers tab and select our users and groups from the list at the bottom and send Test Now. Once you have sent a test out, if you ever need to cancel an active test in a user's inbox, you will do that from the Cancel Test tab. Here I'll list out all of the users that are waiting to complete your tests, and you can choose any that are applicable. I'm going to select both of these users and go ahead and choose Cancel Tests. This will remove that test from their inbox and they will no longer need to complete it. Thank you for attending this Qualtrax training. If you have any further questions, please reach out to support or your account manager.